Hey, what's up and welcome back to the multiverse of 100 plus data science project series. In this video, we're going to discuss about the email spam message classifications using Python and machine learning. So बिना किसी तरह के हर हर महादेव बोल के start करते हैं tutorial. All right, so in order to classify the email spam messages, we're going to use the dataset from the Kaggle that's called the mail data, which having certain columns that's called category and the messages, and this is in the form of the CSV. So what I can do is simply going to use the dataset and try to building on machine learning model and try to classify the spam and harm messages. That's like that. Well, so after downloading the dataset from the Kaggles, we got here one zip file, and after starting this one, we can get here mail underscore data.csv. And also you can see here I creating here one empty IPNB files because we're going to using here the Jupyter notebook, and you can also using here the Google Colab or PyCharm itself. So now I'm going to do the coding part here, and I'm going to go the slowly, and boys is quite low now. So now first thing first, what I can do, I am simply going to load the dataset from my directory, in my working directory. So that we need to import here one library that's called the pandas. So let's say import pandas as PD, and also I'm going to import here the numpy. So let's say import numpy as np. Okay, that's it. So this is how you can actually loading the library in your Jupyter notebook. And you can also see here some warnings. You can also ignore it. So for that, you can using here the import the warnings, and you can simply filter these warnings. Okay, warnings dot filter warnings. Okay, and you can simply going to ignore it. Okay, so I'm simply going to make it ignore. Okay, this is how you can actually ignore your warnings. In some cases, if your package is up to date, it will give me some kind of warnings. That's not a fact about that. So you can also filter the warning and try to ignore it. Now what I can do, I am simply going to load the dataset from my directory. So my dataset name is nothing but called mail underscore data.csv. Okay, let's go on here and try to using here pd dot read underscore csv. CSV mean comma separated below. If I see on here, just to white, and if I open this one, and you can see comma separated below, you can see comma, and it is the message, and this is the category, I mean the class is harm or the spam. That's it. Okay, comma separated below. So now what I can do, I'm simply going to giving here the path. So let's say mail data.csv. Fine. Now let's store it inside of one variable. So let's say raw mail data. Okay, raw mail data. Okay, just give here one convenient name so that you can understand it properly. Okay, so it is loaded now, and if I try to using this one raw mail data dot head, then you can see the category and the messages in the form of the data frame. Well, that's fine. Now what I can do, we simply going to load some extra module, or you can say some extra library which one is required into building the machine learning models. First time actually import it. That's my rules to import all of the library, then jump on the next move. Okay, so now I'm going to import it here. Let's say okay, let from sklearn. Okay, from sklearn dot model selections. Okay, model selection, and I'm going to import here the train test split. Okay, train test split. I'm just going to import it here so that I don't need to import it again and again. Okay, so what is actually train, test, and split? See, when you're trying to building one machine learning model, you need to divide your data set in the training part and the testing part. In the training part, you are going to do the training, and in the testing, you will testing your data in the unseen data, in the form of unseen data, and you're testing it out. And after that, you can calculate the accuracy, that how your model actually work on the unseen data. That's the testing part. That's the testing part. So you have one data. So what I can do, we're simply going to divide our data set into 80 by 20. Simple. Now what I can do, because this is a textual data, see, go until or OKLR or free NT, this is nothing but textual data. That means this text is nothing but the NLP text. NLP text. Okay, natural language processing text. So for that, you to making this data in the form of vector, so that we can pass it inside my machine learning model. Okay, in my machine learning models. So what I can do, I am simply going to import it. Let's say from sklearn dot feature instructions. Okay, you can also using here the tab from your keyboard. So for getting the auto suggestion, so when you actually press the tab key from your keyboard, it will take time, just like 5 to 10 seconds, then it will actually import it automatically. Now from the feature instruction dot text, because this is textual data, we're going to be importing here the TF-ID of vectorizers. So see, TF-ID of vectorizers. Well, then we're simply going to import here one machine learning model. Let's say Okay, don't, okay, not importing here the machine learning model because this should be a spoilers. Okay, so let's try to import here the accuracy matrix. Okay, so from sklearn dot matrix, okay, matrix, and I'm going to importing here the accuracy matrix. Okay, I'm not actually importing here the machine learning model because this should be the spoilers. Okay, so matrix, okay, matrix, and you simply okay, accuracy is also imported. Okay, that's fine now. So shift enter. Okay, so train test split and TF idea vectors and also the accuracy score. Now what I can do, we need to checking this, is there any null value or not. So let's say raw data underscore mail, okay, dot isna, okay, dot sum. Okay, so okay, raw mail data, no raw data mail, raw mail data. Okay, that's fine now. Okay, and you can see it don't have any null value. Okay, you can also using here is null. Okay, and you can see no null value is available inside our data set. Let's say if you have the null value in some kind of strings, it should be some blank space also or null value. It's not actually inputted. So let's say we have some null value. Now the question is, how can you replace it? How can you replace it? So for the string cases, we can actually using here the blank space in order to remove the null spaces from our data set. So we can using here raw mail data, okay, raw mail data, and from that we simply going to check that higher pd pandas. We can using here the pd. So let's make it pd dot not null, okay, pd dot not null from our raw mail data, from our raw mail data, okay, and we simply going to replace it with a blank space, with a blank space. So what I can do is simply going to use it, let's say df. Okay, that's my df. See if there are any missing value, it will try to replacing all of that. In some cases of the data set, maybe it should be null value. Okay, so what I can do is simply going to remove it and try to put it with a null string so that you can also import it. Now let's try to check this out. Now df dot is null dot sum. Okay, now you can see it don't have any null value. If it is have, you can use this technique and try to removing here the null values and try to convert them in a null string. Okay, that's fine now. So now what I can do, let's start checking the shape of the data set. So let's say df.shape, and you can see the shape of the data set, that 5572, 2. 2 means columns, and this is the row. Okay, this how row actually available. Now, okay, so now what I can do, we simply going to do the label encoding. So why label encoding actually? See, this is the ham and spam. Okay, and this is my target class. Now the question is it a supervised machine learning problems or the unsupervised machine learning problem? Is it supervised machine learning or the unsupervised? Which one? Which one? Which one? Just pause the video and comment that. Which one is it? Is it supervised or the unsupervised? Okay, I think you pause the video and also think about that. Yeah, this is a supervised machine learning problem because it having the category. Okay, it having the category, and also you need to predict this one. Okay, that's why this is the supervised. Okay, because it having a target class. Okay, it having a target class. Okay, unsupervised means it don't have any target class. Okay, that's been the clustering problem. Clustering problem. Okay, clustering problem. Okay, we also do this one in the next one. That's called the customer segmentations. Okay, using the k-mean clustering. We also are trying to make this tutorial on the map. Maybe in the next 2 or 3 videos we try to make this one, because in so many cases we're actually using here the supervised machine learning problems. Why not using here the unsupervised also? Okay, that's fine. So this is supervised machine learning problems. Okay, fine. Now I need to do the label encoding. Why label encoding? Because when it's going to passing your data in machine learning models, it will just reading the binary value or the value in the form of numbers, in the form of numbers. So for that, we need to do the label encoding. We need to do the label encoding. So let's try to do the label encoding. So let's call label encoding. And okay, encoding, you can also using the label encoder also. Let's try to using here another technique. Okay, it also comment out this one. Okay, so let's say we have two class hum and spam. Okay, so what I can do is simply going to making this spam should be 0 and hum should be 1. Yep, how can you do that? How can we do that? See, we can actually do that using map. We can do this using map, because map will taking all the data from our data frame and try to convert that. So you can using here the map. So how can you using that? Let's say df, from the df we can taking the category, we can taking the category, this category, okay, category, and simply going to pass it here. Okay, pass it here, and now Now we simply going to using here df. Okay, again we pass here my category. Okay, should be the, yeah, you can using here the single quotation or double quotation, you can also using this one. And now we simply going to map it. Okay, map. Okay, simply map it. Which one? Let's say map the spam should be 0 and harm should be the 1. Okay, harm should be the 1. Harm should be the 1. Simple. Now let's tracking this one, df.head. Yeah, now you can see 1 and 0, how it is converted. Yeah, you can also using here another technique also. Let's say if I'm trying to using here the log functions, how can I do that? Using the log functions. Yeah, you can also do this using the log functions. So let's see how can I actually do that. You can also say the log method. Okay, so let's say df.log. Okay, log means locations. Location, in which locations? We're taking this one, the location from which one? From the data frame, and which column? Category column. Okay, let's copy this one, category column. Okay, this one category columns. Okay, then which one we're going to check in this one? Which one we're going to check for the spam or hum? So spam, that's a spam. Checking this one. If it is spam, so what I can do, we're simply going to making this category. Okay, category. Okay, category should be the one. Okay, should be the one or 0. This is how you also using the df.log. So let's try to using this one and pass it here. Okay, now it is hum, so we can using this one. See, we simply going to using here the log functions and try to passing here my data frame. Which column is it? If it is a spam, then try to make it 0, and if it is a hum, then try to make it 1. Okay, it's also important. Okay, so if you need to checking this one, just going to copy this one and you can pass it here. Okay, and let's run it from before so that you can just clarify this one. Yes, this is really work. Okay, this is really work. Okay, fine. Now let's try to using her df.head. So df.head, and you can see like this one. Yeah, you can see 1 and 0, how it is converted. Okay, you can also using this technique. You can also using this technique one. Now you can see it's having some none because we're actually using the map. Okay, so what I can do, I am simply going to removing this one now. Okay, just cutting this one because you don't need it. Okay, df.head, and yeah, that's it, fine. Now let's try to using here this one. Okay, and now if I try to checking this one, let's say df.head, then you can see all of the values not converted. Okay, because this is the mapping. If it is not fine, it will actually replace it to the none, and it's not a mapping, it's just a log functions. If it is fine, then it can convert them. Okay, you can using both techniques, log functions, or you can also using the mapping. Well, now what I can do now, we simply going to separate our data set into the x and y, I mean dependent and independent features. So what I can do, we can using a df, let's say we can using here my messages because it having the message, and this is in the form of the x, and let's try to use here the y also, dependent and independent features. Let's try to using the category. So copy this one, and I am simply going to paste it here category. Okay, this category should be the best here. Okay, well, fine. Now if I try to checking this one x, so this is the data frame. Okay, it's not a small x, it should be the capital X. You can using the shift and x, it should be the capitals, and this is the x. And if I try to checking this one, let's say y, and shift enter, you can see the y. Well, this is how we can actually divide our data set in the train test. Okay, x and y. Now we're simply going to convert our data set into train, test, and split. I mean, divide our data set, not the convert. Okay, so for that, you can using here the train, test, and split. And inside that, we're simply going to passing here x and y, x comma y, and it also giving here the test size. Okay, test size. So test size, let's say 0.2, and also giving here random state, so that it's not changing the state again and again when you run this shell. Okay, now let's using here the x train and comma x test. Okay, underscore x test, and then we have the y train, and we have in the y test. That's it. Okay, divide our data set into train, test, and split. So you can checking the shape of that. So let's say checking the shape of the data set. This is how the shape is look like. You can also testing this one, y train shape. Okay, let's say shape. Okay, fine. The shape of the x train and y train is most the same. If I try to checking this, the x test shape also, it should be the 2. I hope so. Okay, because it having, yeah, it's not a 2. it's 1115. This is the shape of my X train and the X test. Okay, that's fine now. So what I can do now, we're simply going to do the feature extractions, because you need to using the machine learning models. So for that, you need to divide, not divide actually, you need to convert our data set in the from the vector so that you can pass it inside our machine learning models. So now we're simply going to using the TF-IDF vectorizers. So let's try to using it here and try to creating one instance of that. So now what I can do, I'm simply going to creating the instance of the TF-IDF vectorizers. So I'm simply going to copy this one and I'm going to pass it here. And after that, I need to giving here some parameter as argument, just like the minimum difference. Let's say min df equal to 1. Then I'm giving here the stop words. So stop words, okay, stop words equal to nothing but English, because this is an English word, right? So let's say English. Okay, fine. Then also giving here another one that's called binary equal to true. Otherwise, it will give me the errors. So binary equal to true, like that. Okay, so the instance is created for the TF-IDF vectorizers so that you can transfer the text data to the feature vector, then can be used as an input for the logistic regression models. When you're using the logistic regression models for the classifications for the spam and harm mails, so let's giving here, let's say one variable is called the feature instructions. Okay, feature instruction, like this one. Okay, fine. Now this our TF-IDF vectorizers is created. That's called minimum difference is ones. Then stop word is nothing but English. Then it's binary equal to true. Fine. Now we're simply going to fit it using our fit transform methods. So let's say feature instructions dot fit and transforms. So transform, okay, transform, okay. So inside that, we need to pass here our X train data. So when actually using here the X train data, you need to using here the fit transforms. So when actually using your testing data, then you're using here just transform, not fitting, because fit means you are training your models, and without fitting, that's mean just testing your data. Okay, so let's say X underscore test. Okay, not train, sorry. Then let's assign to the variable called X train features. Okay, let's say call X train features. Okay, fine. There were X train features. Now let's try to do this for X test. So you can simply copy this out, and I'm going to pass it here and just removing this fit from here and try to make it fit test. Okay, fine. So these are our X test features. Okay, X test features. Okay, shift enter. So now what I can do is simply going to convert our data, this Y train data in the form of the integers, so that it's just like the integer, because if I see it's also an integer in the form of the integers. You can also checking this one. Let's say df dot info. Okay, you can checking this one if it's in the form of the integer or not. Yeah, it's already in the form of the integers, but let's say if you data or category, it's not converted into the integers. I mean in from the string. Let's say you have data which one is not just not the spam or the harm, like that. You're just having 1 and 0, just having 1 and 0. So in these cases, you need to converting your data into the from the integers, because this is the target class. Okay, I just am going to exploring all the things. Let's say your use cases. Let's say your company or in your final year project, your teacher actually give me one, or your supervisor actually giving you a data set, which one having the data in the from the string. Let's say 1 or 0 in the from the string. Yeah, that can be happened. Okay, so in this cases, you need to converting this one in the from the integers. Okay, so how can you convert them? Let's say y trained equal to y train. Okay, y should be the capital, so y train. Then I'm going to using hash type, and now I'm going to passing here. You can give here int 64, or let's make it in just int. It will by default taking this one in the from the int 64. Okay, so let's try to copy this one, and I'm going to pass it here. So let's make it x train, y train, and the y test. Okay, and let's make it small because this is a small one. Okay, and also make it y and y, and this should be the y test. Okay, just making you train and the testing data in the form of the integers. Okay, that's fine now. So now what I can do is simply going to shift enter and try to run this one. Okay, so you can also check in this one, just a x train. If I checking this one, let's say, yeah, we already checking this one extend shape of this. So if we try to using this one extend features, then you can see one thing. just wait, taking one shells, and let's say x underscore train, and see the data. And now let's see the data, how it look like. Yeah, this is right now an sparse matrix, because you're passing this data in the form of the vectors. So now it will convert it in the form of vectors. So if you see, this is nothing but uh, one data, okay, one data in the form of the data frame. But if you're checking these x-train features that you see, it is nothing but in the form of a sparse matrix, okay, in the form of the sparse matrix. This is how it actually look like. Now what I can do, we simply going to apply here the machine learning models. So for that, we simply going to load it from sklearn. So let's say from sklearn dot linear models. So I am going to importing here the logistic regressions. So logistic regressions, yeah, this one. And now I'm simply going to creating here the model equal to just creating here an instance of that. So logistic regressions, and you can also using here the decision tree or the SBC or SBM or random forest. Okay, no problem. We will also trying this one. It's a model.fit. And after that, what I can do is simply going to passing here my xtrain feature. Okay, xtrain features. And after that, I'm simply going to passing here my ytrain. Okay, so that's one of the logistic regression models that is actually created. And you also feed our data using our xtrain features and ytrain features. So xtrain feature is nothing but in a form of sparse matrix. Okay, so now what I can do, if I try to printing this one, let's try to printing this one. If I try to printing this one, I hope so it should be, yeah, that is, you can see here the sparse matrix should be printed. If you're just using here just Jupyter Notebook shells, it will give you an instance of that, the how a sparse matrix actually look like. Same, this sparse matrix, it having 1 0 and also 1. So 1 means hum and 0 means spam. And you can see here, this is nothing but the vectors of the data. Okay, and this is nothing but the similarity of these vectors. Okay, so this is how your ytrain feature actually look like, xtrain. And if you try to checking these x test features, just trying to using here one print statement, and you can also checking this on. Okay, let's go on here and try to print it out. Okay, let's try to print. Okay, print, and I'm going to passing here x test features. Yeah, you can see also like that the sparse matrix of the training data and the testing data are mostly similar. This is how actually the vector actually coming out. Okay, so you can also using here just one simple random number or random text, and you can also checking this and that how the TF idea vector actually work. Okay, so now what I can do, I am simply going to predict it. I mean, I'm going to simply going to evaluate our models. So for that, what I can do, we simply going to uh, using here the model.predict. So let's say model.predict, and inside that, I'm simply going to pass here my xtrain feature. Okay, features. Okay, now it will give me the predictions of my training data. So let's say prediction. Let's say train data. Okay, now it will give me the data. I mean predictions based on my training data. Now let's try to testing here the accuracy score, and we already import here the accuracy score. And inside this accuracy score, we're simply going to passing here my ytrain. Okay, ytrain, and after that, I'm simply going to passing here my prediction on train data, and it will give me one. Let's assign it to the variable. Let's call accuracy on train data. Okay, train data. That's it. Now you can simply going to copy this one and try to checking this one how the accuracy look like. Yeah, it's got 96% accuracy. That's really fine now. Well, that's really fine. So now what I can do, let's try to do this for the testing data also. Let's try to copy this one, and I'm going to pasting it here. Let's try to do it for the testing data. So I'm trying to make it this test, and also this one test. Okay, and this training data should be converted into testing data, prediction of the test data, and accuracy on test data. Okay, all of the feature is changes. Yeah, test data should be here. Copy this one, and I'm going to pasting it here, and shift enter. Well, now you can see our shell is running. Now what I can do, we're simply going to try to printing here our prediction of the test data. So let's try to copy this one and try to printing it here. We can also create here one print statement so that it's look better. So let's say accuracy on test data, and you can also using her one format specifier. Otherwise you can simply using the comma because it having just one variable name. Yeah, accuracy on test data. Okay, accuracy on test data, I just need to pass it here. Okay, test data. So you can see on the accuracy on the test data is nothing but 96.59. Okay, that's really good, 96.59. Okay, really good. So let's try to also using this one. Let's copy this one and let's try to paste it here. And this is accuracy on the train data. Okay, train data. That's really fine now. Yeah. Okay, for the accuracy of the training data is nothing but 96%, and accuracy of the testing data is nothing but 96.59%. Quite good. You can also using here another kind of machine learning model, just like SBM or decision declassifier or the logistic regression. So which one is better? You can actually compare both of them and try to creating one benchmarking and selecting the best one. Okay. Now what I can do now, I am simply going to building one predictive system, so that I was simply going to give here one text and try to classify the spam. Is it a spam mail or the harm mail? Okay. So for the predictive system, let's say building the building predictive system. Okay. Okay, fine. Now what I can do, I am simply going to taking the input from the user. So let's say input user, let's say mail, and taking the input. So I need to pass this input in the form of the list. So let's take in the input. So here you can take we can take in the input from our data set. Let's taking this one. Okay, let's copy this one. Okay, and I can copy this with the string also. So copy this one, and I'm going to pasting it here. Okay, so just removing this one, and I'm simply pasting it here. Okay, fine now. And now after that I'm simply going to pass this input data, input user mail, inside my feature extractions. Okay, in my feature extractions that I actually already built. Okay, now inside this feature extractions, what I can do, because this is not the training period, so you need to using the transform, not feed transforms. So just simply going to using here the tab, and after that I'm simply going to using here the input user mail. Right. Okay, now this is our input data features, let's say. Okay, features. Okay, fine, it's a features because it have a multiple features, that's why. Well, now after transferring the data set, what I can do is simply going to predict it. So that's a model dot predict. Okay, predict. Okay, predict. Okay, fine, and we're simply going to passing here our input data feature. Okay, and then to give me the predictions. So let's give in here predictions, prediction, and this one. Well, so what I can do is simply going to printing here the predictions. So let's say print the predictions. Okay, let's try to run it now, and you can also check in the predictions how the prediction look like. Yeah, you can see array one is nothing but the half mail that actually copied. Now if you're trying to making out, let's say if the prediction, okay, you can do it on here also. So if the prediction, so let's say if the prediction is equal to or the index number 0, so that you can get here one single value. So let's say equal to 1. So simply you can printing here, this is nothing but one harm mail, otherwise this is nothing but a spam mail. This is how Google classified your spam messages and to put in inside your spam folder. And let's say otherwise you can using here the if condition also. Let's start using here the else condition because it's just having to thing. It says spam. Okay, spam and harm. Okay, now if I try to check in this one, this is an harm mail. Okay, let's say this is a harm mail. Okay, we can like that mail. Otherwise this is an spam mail, so you can copy this one and paste it here, and this is an spam mail. Okay, fine, so you can delete this one. Let's try to testing it here, another one. So let's copy on a spam mail. Yeah, this one you can copy it. Yeah, let's copy this one. Okay, let's try checking this one, it is really working or not. Okay, I'm going to paste it here. Yeah, this is spam mail. This is how our machine learning model actually work. So let's say if you don't need to, if you're not interested to doing this code and try to sharing a model file with your friends, so how can you do that? You can actually you can also save it in the form of the pickle. So now what I can do, I am simply going to import the pickle. So let's say import the pickle. Okay, not vocal, pickle. And after that, I'm simply going to dump here our model file and also the feature extraction file. So let's say pickle.dump. And inside that, what I can do, I am simply going to pass here my model. And after that, I'm simply going to create here one open method. And inside this open method, I'm simply going to pass here my model name. So my model name is called logistic regressions, logistic regression dot pickle file, pkl. Okay, then I need to also initialize here the mode, in which mode I'm trying to actually dump in my model file. So this is the write mode, so should be the rwb. And also I need to dump here our feature extraction file. Okay, just to wait. So this should be the feature extraction, so feature extractions file. And also I need to giving here my names. It's called feature extraction. Okay, feature extraction replica file. If I go up, then you can see the feature extraction is nothing but is here. It's called the tfidf back to writers. Okay, and now here is it. Okay, so if I try to run in this one, and now if I try to checking this one, which one is it? Yeah, you can see here the logistic regressions, logistic underscore regression pickle file, and also the feature underscore extraction pickle file. Now using that, you can share it with your friends so that he can also testing it out with the custom input. Now what I can do, I am simply going to creating here one web application using Flux and try to testing it out. Okay, so let's go on here on the BS Code and try to do that. So all right, so right now we are in the BS Code, and also you can see here we have a file called app.py, and this complete code is built by using Python and Flux framework. Okay, fine. Now also you can see here it having a folder that's called the templates, and inside this template folder you can see here a file called index.html. So this is our index.html file, and here we try to do our designing part. And inside this designing part, it will simply going to render in this website, or you can say web page in our app.py. So now what I can do, I am simply going to running this application from here. That's called app.py, and it will run in these applications on your local server, just like 127.00.5000 like that. Okay. And after that, I'm simply going to go on here and try to opening with the link. Okay, and you can see link is appeared and follow the link. So you can see here this is the application how it's actually look like. It having just one header called email spam message classifier, and also having one your mail context, just like the label for your text box, and also a button called analyze. Now what I can do, we're simply going to design it using HTML and try to uh, add our model file with the Flux applications, I mean the web pages. Okay, now let's go on here again and try to exporting all the code one by one. Okay, so first what I can do, if I go inside my index.html, and you can see here you just having one title called email spam message classifications using Python and machine learning. This is the title for our web pages. Then we have the link where you actually link our style sheet and also add our bootstrap. Okay, because this design is based on the bootstrap. Then we have the style, and we have the body. We have the all body color is nothing but white colors, and also give here on containers and give here the margin from the top. And we have the h1 tag, and we set the color of the h1 tag is this color, just like the blue. And also having the from control. From control means because this is nothing but on from, so I'm actually clicking this button, it will go on our server and try to predict it. This is a spam mail or the harm mail. Then also having the button primary hover. This is nothing but for the hover effect in my application. If I go on here again, and you can see one hover effect, you can see. Okay, this is how the hover effect actually work in the CSS. Okay, fine. And also you can see here alert success and also alert dangers. This is nothing but for if you say harm message, we can making this alert in the form of a green sign, and otherwise let's make it danger sign or the red sign. Well, now let's go down. You can see here we're just having a deep in the deep name is nothing but the container, and empty5, it's a bootstrap class. That we have in the h1 tag, and inside the h1 tag we have the email spam message classifier, and h1 is nothing but this one, and its color is nothing but the blue color that you can see in the applications. Okay, now what I can do, we're simply going to add here one from, and inside this from we need to giving here the method is post. So there are two kinds of method are available in the from, just like get method and the post methods. So post method means you are trying to fetch some data from your databases, and try to getting the predictions. Okay, or get means just you taking the data from your databases. Post means you're somebody going to posting you the data in your database, and database actually give you some response. Now, which kind of response we can get? We can get a response based on the analyzed mail functions. Which one is nothing but one route in your applications. So if I go inside this app.py, and you can see here it having app functions, or you can say route that's called analyzed mail. Okay, fine. Then after that, we're having one from group, and we're having simple level for the entire mail context that you see in the applications. Then we're having the text area that you can see, and name is mail. It will take in the content from here, and also one button, and button type is nothing but submit button. And if I type clicking this analyze button, it will give me the predictions. Okay, fine. And now also see that if the classify is defined, I mean, if the classify is defined, if the classify is nothing but a 0, then what you can do, you can say that this is a spam mail. Otherwise, you can say that this is a harm mail. This is a harm mail. And simple. And we're simply going to pass in this classify from our app.py that you can see classify. Okay. Now let's understand this code. So first, we're simply going to import it from Flux. From Flux, you input here the Flux, the render template. So render template is nothing but rendering this web page, I mean the HTML page from the templates folder, from this templates folder. Then you have the request, because we need to also get in the data from our web pages, just like the mail context. Then you input here the pickle, because we save our model file in the from the pickle. Then we initialize our app in the flux underscore name, and that's loading the save files. So you have the model and also feature instruction build. So pickle.load, and simply going to load it in the from the write mode. Okay, write mode, right, not read mode. Okay, fine. And after that, we're simply going to read our feature instruction file in the form of read mode. Fine. Then we simply going to creating here a function which is actually predicting the mail. It will taking one input text, and after that we pass this input text inside a list, and also put it inside the transforms. I mean the feature instruction transforms. So why should actually using here the transform, why not the feed transforms? Because see, this is a test data. This is the test data. So that's why you need to feed it. It's already fitted in our data. So we're simply going to transform it. And we're simply going to pass our user mail inside these transform functions. And it will give me the input data features. And after that, we're simply going to pass it inside my model. And the model is actually giving me the predictions. Now, this prediction is going to go inside our classified things. Okay. Now what I can do is simply going to creating here one route. So this blank route, and the method is get and post. If the method is post method, if I see if the method is a post method, so what I can do is simply going to taking the input from our mail context. So this is our mail context that you can see name equal to mail, and now we're simply going to take in the input from our text area using this mail. Okay, fine. So request.from.get, this get method you need to use, and taking this input from the mail functions and try to passing this mail inside our predicted mail. And this predicted mail actually gave me one predictions, and we're simply going to pass the prediction mail inside our classify that you can see. Say if the classify is nothing but 0, that is spam mail. Otherwise, it is harm mail. If I go inside this index.html, that you can see if the classify is defined. If it is defined, then you're simply going to classify equal to 0. Otherwise, it is spam mail. Otherwise, it should be a harm mail. Simple. Okay, simple as it is. Now you can see this is a render template, and simply going to render in this template here. Well, that's fine now. And also, you need to also calling here our main method and app.run equal to debug equal to throw. Simple, as it is simple. Okay, now what I can do is simply going to taking one mail from here, and let's try to testing it out. Okay, but before that, I need to also running it out. Just run it out. It is running, and after that, index.html. Okay, no, mail underscore data.csv, and just taking this one. Okay, just going to copy this one, and I'm going to go on my application. Just here the link. I hope so. Thoda par. Okay, yeah, here is it. Just follow the link, and let's pass it here, and click on analyze, and you can see this is a harm mail. Well, so let's taking one spam mail also. Yeah, here it is. This is a spam mail. Let's copy this one and try to go on here, and let's pass it here and try to analyze. And you can see this is a spam mail in the from dangers. Okay, this is a spam mail. Fine. So this is how your email spam message classifier actually work using Python and machine learning. So that's it for today now. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and make sure to subscribe to the channels, and don't forget to hit the bell icon. And I'll be back with another tutorial. So till then, take care and bye bye.